Everything started when the goblin chief died, and two soldiers who were there when the leader passed away began fighting over who would take his weapon. One angry goblin leaped onto the other, who was gripping the club, shouting that he should be the new chief. Since they were the strongest soldiers, they battled over the weapon while the rest of the goblins watched and yelled, cheering them on. The two fighters threw punches and bit each other, and right then, one of the smaller goblins remembered that the chief had left some captives alone. They decided to go fetch them, but then the goblins recalled that the guard watching the prisoners was about to come back. To everyone's shock, that guard showed up, a goblin who looked totally different from the others. They all stopped and stared at this strange figure walking by, noticing how much he looked like a human because of his clothes. Wanting to find the old chief's captives, the goblins chose to follow this guard. Then, one of the smaller ones mentioned that some of the tribe's toughest fighters had already gone ahead, and when the real battle started, they would use that chance to act. Hearing this, the guard got nervous. Suddenly, the young man rushed toward the captives because he heard cries for help and worried about what might happen to them. The protagonist hurried toward the screams, and soon he and the others spotted a cave where the captive was held. When the guard reached the spot where the cries came from, he saw goblins attacking a young woman. One of the little creatures stared hard at her while she grew more and more panicked, thinking she was done for. Scared out of her mind, the girl screamed for someone to save her, shouting that she didn't want to give birth to a goblin child. Not wanting to hurt the prisoner, the guard told the goblins to let her go, but the leader of the group only sneered, telling him that since the chief was dead, the captive now belonged to him. If he dared to take her, he would have to fight for it. Right away, the leader ordered the others to attack the guard and kill him. Following the command, the goblins charged at the young man to keep the woman for themselves. The protagonist felt overwhelmed, surrounded by so many little monsters at once. Stunned that these weak, nasty goblins might end his life, the boy refused to give up. His will to survive grew stronger, and then something surprising happened. Out of nowhere, the protagonist pulled out a knife and took down one of the goblin, making the rest of them scared. The guardian proved to the group that he'd fight hard to stay alive and wouldn't go down without a struggle. When the little monster saw the young man holding a knife, they got scared and ran off in a panic. One of the goblins yelled at their leader to escape because the guardian had a weapon. Worn out from surviving the fight, the boys scared off the goblins. Right then, the young woman who almost became a prisoner of those awful goblins thanked her hero, who looked exhausted from the battle. But the guardian seemed too weak to keep going, and the girl said, "You're really a kind goblin. You kept protecting me." After hearing the girl's words, the protagonist, who had once been human, began to reflect. Suddenly, a screen appeared before his eyes, informing him that the system was starting. It was then revealed that his name was Lin Tian, and that he had reincarnated as a goblin with the system after being run over by a truck. However, the screen only displayed some basic statistics, without any advanced or particularly useful functions. Even so, after saving the girl, Lin Tian started gaining a better understanding of the world he had been reborn into. He soon learned that this was a world created by gods filled with powerful monsters. The protagonist pointed out that humans had earned their spot on the continent with their power, but the goblin he'd become was the weakest and dirtiest creature there. Lin Tian said his stats were so bad that even other goblins could take him out easily. Looking at the girl, the young man recalled that in this world, there was a way to get stronger, by making new life with girls. The protagonist explained that goblins could grow more powerful by mating and having lots of babies, but the goblins didn't have any females, which is why they stole girls. Thinking about the harsh life there, the boy said he used to be human, and that doing such things to gain strength was disgusting. Then the girl cut in, saying that after a few days with her guardian, she realized he wasn't like the others, and that she didn't want to stay with those goblins. Lin Tian was shocked by her words again. Just then, the girl told the boy that when the night order came to save her, she'd tell them he rescued her, and they'd let him live in the village. Suddenly, something spooked Lin Tian, and the protagonist said the goblins were back to grab the girl. He told her to hide, once again protecting her, and got ready to fight. Sure enough, a nasty goblin eager to grow stronger appeared while howling about its intentions. It screeched, declaring that a human was present, and that gaining strength was the only way to avoid death. Lin Tian was surprised to hear the word human, but there was no time to think as the creature moved toward them. Lin Tian shows determination not to let the girl be taken quickly. The boy strikes the goblin with a knife. After that, the protagonist tells the girl that humans have come to save her, which fills her with joy. Sure it's the sacred order, she hurries toward her rescuer. Suddenly, Lin Tian halts, spotting something strange. The boy sees a mighty human smash several goblins with one swing, leaving our MC amazed at such strength in this world. Then the man, thought to be the girl's hero, gets mad when he notices those grubby goblins ripped his sacred order uniform. Right then, Lin Tian catches sight of Loader's astonishing stats and wonders if this powerful guy is even human, since he's never seen numbers that high since arriving here. The girl dashes to her savior, shouting, "Captain," while Lin Tian marvels at how effortlessly they took out the goblins. But then something awful horrifies the boy. It's clear the man isn't there to save her. Lin Tian moves fast when he sees Loader about to strike the girl, heroically pulling her away from the captain to safety. Confused about what's really going on, the boy questions, aren't they here to rescue people? Why are they attacking? Is it because the cave is too dark and they mistook the girl for a goblin? Annoyed, Loader grumbles that it's shameful a goblin avoided his attack. The girl quickly calls out to him, "Captain, it's me, Kelia." Surprisingly, Loader responds with a sneer. "Shut up, Kelia. I know it's you. You've been defiled by goblins. You might even be carrying a goblin spawn. It's ridiculous for a filthy thing like you to expect mercy from me. Go repent your sins to the great holy mother." Desperate, the girl pleads, "Commander, wait. Although I was captured, I wasn't defiled by the goblins. It was him. This goblin protected me." Shockingly, Loader gets enraged by her story, thinking she's making it up to mock him, and decides to end her. Lin Tian races to rescue her again. Frustrated, the protagonist urges the girl to get out of there and shows her a safe way to go. Without weighing the danger, Lin Tian swings his club at Loader. Then a glow emerges from the cave's shadows, and the boy freezes, eyes wide. A woman steps in, telling Loader to stop, as Lin Tian finds himself covered by a magical shield. Next, a strong mage arrives with knights behind her, saying to the captain that this goblin seems odd. Kelia drops to her knees before the woman, calling her holy maiden and pleading for safety. Desperate, the girl begs the mage to protect her. The holy maiden asks Lin Tian if he can understand her, and the hopeful boy stands before Ifreya, the temple spokesperson he's heard so much about, believing this is his one shot to escape this place. Confident he'll be saved, the boy tells the holy maiden that he understands her. Lin Tian tells the mage he's not a monster from this world, and explains he was once human, reborn after an accident. Loader mentions to the holy maiden that Lin Tian seems sharper than other goblins, and the mage replies to her friend that this goblin might be a blessing from the sacred mother. Then Ifreya asks Kelia if the goblin truly didn't hurt her, and the girl answers that not only did he avoid harming her, he also kept her safe and gave her food. As expected, the holy maiden tells the girl that since Lin Tian is so unusual, they'll bring him to the village first and study him carefully before deciding what to do. With a smile full of confidence, the mage asks the boy if he's willing to come with her to the village, and thinking it's his only way to be saved, Lin Tian agrees to go with them. After Ifreya lifts the magical shield around him, Lin Tian says it's about time someone listened to him so he can show he's innocent. As they leave the cave, the mage tells Loader to come along, and walking with the people he thinks are his rescuers, Lin Tian thanks his savior for being kind, promising he'll repay her properly. But then something shocking happens. Out of nowhere, Loader stabs Kelia in the stomach with his sword. Our MC turns around fast and sees the captain kill the girl he was protecting, leaving him heartbroken. Through his goblin eyes, the protagonist watches Kelia lying dead on the ground, unable to believe his friend was taken out by the man she thought would save her. Sinking into disbelief, Lin Tian can't make sense of it all. With a mocking and cold tone, the holy maiden looks at him and says he'd better reward her well when they get to the village. A week later, in the village, the church bell rings to call the people together. Loader stands beside the holy maiden, speaking to the villagers, saying a goblin attack caused huge harm to their quiet town. The captain explains that the little monsters used sneaky strikes and brutally killed 30 people from the village. Furious, the villagers yell that goblins are awful and that humans and those terrible creatures are sworn enemies. Showing pictures of the dead, Loader says the Sacred Order, acting for the temple, wiped out the little monsters to avenge the village's losses. Taking over the speech, the holy maiden urges the villagers to keep praying faithfully to the temple, adding that the temple will always guard its loyal followers, and the villagers start cheering for the Sacred Order's knights. Then the scene shifts to a place that looks like a lab mixed with a gloomy library, where the holy maiden says the speech went perfectly and that the villagers are still clueless. Ifreya says that now the villagers will pray harder and give more gifts to the temple. Then it's revealed what happened to our MC, who's locked up with a muzzle over his mouth, calling out for the mage. The holy maiden gazes at her prisoner without any pity. The protagonist, now missing an eye and burning with anger, calls Ifreya a miserable person. At that moment, the holy maiden looks at Lin Tian, chained to a wall covered in marks from experiments. Ifreya says she's amazed the boy's still hanging on, thinking that's why the temple can't wipe out the goblins from the land. Then the holy maiden chooses to test a stronger poison on Lin Tian to see what happens. The protagonist feels like he can't take the endless pain from the experiments anymore. In desperation, Lin Tian remembers how the Sacred Order tricked everyone and killed Kelia, asking the holy maiden if that's what human justice is. Suddenly, a branch hits the boy's chin, and the Holy Maiden, furious at his words, says it's odd for such a weak, lowly creature to question human justice. Showing her true self, Freya declares that goblins are just bugs on this continent, and that even talking to him is a big kindness. Casting a spell on Lin Tian, the Holy Maiden says he should be thankful and let his small body help with human experiments and the sacred order. She makes a magic circle that starts sucking the boy's strength away. Lin Tian feels almost too weak to fight the torment. The protagonist starts blaming himself for keeping his human kindness, even after being reborn from a human into a lowly goblin, thinking people would be fair. He remembers how, after being taken to the village, Loder and Freya tortured him and ran all kinds of tests on his body, ignoring everything he said. Sadly, after so much suffering, the boy couldn't hold on anymore and was killed by the cruel Holy Maiden. After dying, Lin Tian says that if he got another chance, he'd never trust humans and would crush their bones if he could. Then something surprising happens. Just as the boy thinks about what he'd do if he could be reborn again, it feels like Lin Tian has entered a virtual world, and he wonders if he's still alive. To his shock, the Goblin life simulation system turns on and asks if he wants to reincarnate again. Trying to figure it out, Lin Tian decides this must be his own system, one that only starts after he dies. The protagonist can't believe he might get to reincarnate again, but he'd have to start over as a weak goblin. Lin Tian asks the system what yes and no mean, and it explains that picking no will end everything for him, but choosing yes lets him go back a week with all his memories. At last, the boy realizes the chance he'd been hoping for has come true. The protagonist gets excited, understanding he can now get even with Loder and Freya. Thrilled with ideas of revenge, Lin Tian picks yes. Right then, the system starts the Goblin life reboot process. The boy, angry at being betrayed by humans, is fully set on going back and making them pay. On top of being reborn, Lin Tian learns the system has made him a bit stronger. Pleased, the boy says even a small boost is better than none. Next, the system warns Lin Tian that danger isn't gone, and that the sacred order is close to catching him, adding that if he dies again, there's no coming back. Lin Tian asks the system what it can do, and it tells him he can run future event predictions with different results every 24 hours. The boy gets even more eager, finding out each simulation gives him points to trade for items and lets him peek at the future without losing time. Lin Tian tells the system to start the life simulation right away, and following his command, the system offers escape options from the cave. In the first choice, he'd warn the other goblins and team up to battle Loder and his men, earning 10 points. In the second, he'd ditch the other little monsters and run off alone, gaining 5 points. In the last one, he'd hide in the cave and hope Loder's group doesn't spot him, but this wouldn't give him any points. Lin Tian pauses, carefully thinking over the best path. He considers the first option but decides that even with all the goblins, they couldn't beat Loder alone, and running might be smarter. After a quick look, Lin Tian chooses to test every option and go with the one that gives the most points to grab a weapon from the exchange shop. Sadly, after trying the first option, he and the goblins get crushed by Loder easily, though he still earns 10 points as promised. After thinking it over, Lin Tian figures he can't rely on the little monsters to stay alive, but he's happy with the points he got. Feeling sure of himself, the boy asks the system to open the exchange shop. Lin Tian notices a wide array of powerful weapons, but each one requires an enormous amount of points to obtain. Lin Tian notices a swift, light elven dagger that costs exactly the 10 points he got from the simulation. He decides to grab the weapon, which boosts his speed by 10% and strength by 15%, and remarks that it's super sharp. Hitting a weak spot could kill an enemy fast. Worried about his friend, the boy asks the system why Kellia wasn't in the simulation and where she is. The system tells him that after his rebirth, some things in the timeline shifted, and in this new life, the girl never got taken by the goblins. She's living happily in the village. Lin Tian is shocked but truly glad to hear his friend is safe. Feeling relieved that Kellia is alive and free from harm, the boy says he's kept his promise and can now turn to other matters. Figuring out the best move, Lin Tian heads for the cave's exit, certain it's the smartest choice since the weakest guards are posted there. One soldier outside grumbles about how much he despises goblins, while the other tells him to chill, saying it's an easy gig. Just then, Lin Tian hears people chatting near his spot. He learns that Loder's plan is to wipe out all the kidnapped girls in the cave, and that's what the two guards are there for. This makes the protagonist even surer his revenge is fair, seeing how the Sacred Order will kill innocent folks just to keep its power. Knowing this, the boy feels he has no choice but to fight. If they do this to humans, what would they do to a plain goblin like him? Setting a trap for the guards, Lin Tian mimics a girl's voice, calling for help from inside the cave. Following Loder's orders, one soldier gets ready to take out the girl trying to escape. Grinning, the guard says she can come out safely, and that he'll take her back to the village. Then, catching the kind soldier off guard, Lin Tian stabs him with his sharp dagger. Full of hate for humans, the boy strikes without mercy, declaring that from now on, it's the goblin's revenge. The hit soldier shakes in pain, and the other guard steps toward his buddy, wondering why he's taking so long, not realizing what's up. Smirking and eager to keep his revenge going, Lin Tian feels pumped seeing his plan work. He charges at the second guard with his deadly dagger, leaving the man confused and panicked. Then Lin Tian smacks the soldier's face with his hand, knocking him down. With quick moves and burning anger, the boy leaps onto the guard, attacking him. Just as Lin Tian thought, the dagger cuts deep, slicing the soldier badly. The hurt guard asks Lin Tian if he can speak the human language. Right then, the guard begs for mercy, pleading with the boy not to finish him off. Hoping to soften Lin Tian's heart, the soldier pulls out a picture of his family, saying they're waiting for him at home. Noticing the boy pause before killing him, and realizing he understands the words, the guard says Lin Tian is really smart, and that he's only following the sacred order's rules. The soldier tries to win the boy's trust, offering gold and young women, all while secretly planning to grab his weapon and strike when Lin Tian's distracted by the promises. Like a sneaky traitor, the guard lunges at the boy, calling him a dumb animal. But to the soldier's shock, something surprising happens. Lin Tian uses his quick moves and sharp dagger to hit the sneaky guard before he can even get close. With that, the boy starts the first step of his revenge. The protagonist is fully set on making the most of his final shot at rebirth in this world, where humans turned against him. Lin Tian grows sure that his payback will work. Then he hears Loder's voice nearby and thinks the captain is coming to catch him. The boy puts his plan in motion, taking the guard's clothes and leaving the spot with the soldier's outfit in hand. Lin Tian says he'll soon track down Loder and Ifreya. Just then, the captain and the holy maiden reach the place where the boy beat the guards. Loder wonders if goblins could have taken out those soldiers. Ifreya thinks a little monster strong enough to defeat 2 guards might be a mutant. The captain tells his partner that if this is true, and word gets out in the village, it could spell big trouble. Stepping on the guard's body, Loder shows his anger, calling him worthless for losing to 1 goblin. Meanwhile, the cruel Ifreya gets thrilled, imagining it's a mutant goblin, saying it'll be a blast. With a twisted grin and seeming eager at the thought of an unusual goblin, the holy maiden says that if they catch it, she'll enjoy herself a lot. The scene shifts to the forest where Lin Tian escaped. The boy feels glad, seeing his plan is finally coming together, and he's free from the cave. Lin Tian declares he'll tackle his enemies like a true goblin, using wild strength to boost his power and gain control, his eyes dark with fury. Full of anger, the boy says, in this life he'll make every man wish for death, and every woman crave him and weep before him. Noticing the bushes shake, Lin Tian wonders if Loder and his crew are still hunting him. Just then, a figure in a hood steps out from the bushes. The boy quickly attacks the stranger to stop any chance of a fight back. Caught off guard, the person trips over a rock, and Lin Tian is shocked to see it's a goblin. The protagonist can't believe his eyes, growing even more stunned when he hears this goblin speak and act like him. Lin Tian stays on guard, unsure about this sneaky newcomer. Then something else catches him off guard. He notices the goblin has girly traits, which confuses him since goblins are all male and need other species to have babies. Scared of the boy, the female goblin begs him not to harm her, explaining she's just there to get water, making Lin Tian suspicious. The protagonist starts wondering how a little monster can talk so clearly. Right then, Lin Tian checks the strange girl's stats and sees that if a male goblin pairs with a female of their kind, he'd turn into a goblin god. Amazed, the boy realizes mating with her could make him strong enough to crush his foes. Panicked and fearing for her life, the girl tells Lin Tian her boss sent her for water, and if she doesn't bring it back, she'll be beaten to death. Surprised to hear a goblin talking, the girl calms down as Lin Tian warns her that crying will draw Loder and his group to them. Shocked, she asks if he can speak like her, and he says yes. Lin Tian remembers goblins don't usually talk well, which is why she didn't chat much with her tribe. Thankful, the girl says he's nice, unlike the other little monsters who hit and yell at her, and asks if he'll come with her to the village. Seeing another way to get stronger, Lin Tian gets excited by this news and asks if there's really a goblin tribe nearby. Wary that Loder and his crew might still be tracking him, the boy decides safety comes first, and it's not the right moment for risks. Sticking to his revenge plan and eager to grow powerful, Lin Tian tells the girl he'll go with her to her goblin village. Focused on his mission, the boy says he was stressing about finding followers to join him and asks her to lead him to her tribe. The scene shifts to the village the girl had talked about, and when the goblins spot a stranger coming closer, they get curious, watching from afar. Then, without thinking, the little monsters start poking fun at Lin Tian's clothes because he's dressed like a human, calling him a weird thing. Lin Tian sees a great chance to kick off his revenge plans with this tribe and, set on winning their trust, tells them he's there to join and asks to talk to their leader. The little monsters laugh at him, saying the chief isn't someone he can just see whenever he feels like it. Annoyed, the boy's new friend shouts at the goblins, saying he's not a bad guy and telling them not to be so quick to judge. Right then, someone wonders why the whole tribe is bunched up, making all that racket. Lin Tian gets thrilled when he sees the goblin chief finally show up. The leader storms in, mad, asking who's causing the commotion in his tribe. The protagonist sneaks a peek at the chief's stats and is shocked to find a high-level goblin leading this group. Just then, the chief asks the girl if she brought the stranger, and she says she did because the boy had nowhere else to go. To everyone's surprise, the leader looks pleased and thanks her, but then he orders the goblins to kill Lin Tian and eat him, leaving the girl panicked as the little monsters move toward the boy. Fast as lightning, the protagonist pulls out his dagger, showing it to the leader and the goblins, saying he knows how to craft weapons like that and could make the tribe stronger if they let him join. Curious about the boy's words, the chief tells them to hold off on attacking. The leader steps closer to Lin Tian, eager to grow more powerful, and says the boy doesn't seem to be fibbing, asking what kinds of weapons he can make. Putting his plan to work, Lin Tian tells the leader that with some ore, he can whip up basic iron weapons, and given time, craft even better ones. To seal the deal, the boy adds that with those daggers, they could take down monsters and even humans. After hearing this, the goblins cheer, excited about getting meat and not having to hide in the woods anymore, saying they'd rather eat fresh elves. Hungry for power, the leader tells Lin Tian he'll give him a shot and orders the tribe to find iron ore so the boy can make weapons in 3 days. If he messes up, he's done for. Pointing at the girl, the chief says she'll go with him, and if Lin Tian fails, she'll face the same fate. Then the leader walks off after laying down his rules. Lin Tian wraps his arms around the girl and says the old chief is harsh for not even sparing his own people, adding that he'll need to craft some weapons to stall for time and grow stronger. Right then, the boy sets off toward his task, joined by a few goblins and his new friend, searching for iron ore as he was told. The girl asks everyone to hold up, saying she's worn out from walking all day. Annoyed, one of the little monsters kicks her. Mad, the goblin strikes her again, calling her ugly, and warning that if she doesn't find ore, he'll end her. While she mumbles she'll stop whining. Without reason, the other goblins join in, hitting her and calling her lazy, laughing as they threaten to finish her off. Out of nowhere, Lin Tian hurls a rock at the head of one goblin, kicking the girl, standing up for his new friend. He tells the goblins he brought them to hunt for iron ore, not to pick fights. Fed up with the little monsters, Lin Tian says he's already told them what to look for, and if they want to survive, they'd better listen to him, or his dagger will take them all out. Scared by the boy's threat, the goblins shake in fear and back off from the girl, muttering that he'll get them with iron weapons and warning that the boss won't let it slide when he's done. Lin Tian gets nervous, knowing they're right. Even if he finishes the job in 3 days, it's only a matter of time before the chief turns on him. Looking at the girl, the protagonist remembers that if a male goblin pairs with a female of their kind, he'll become a legendary divine goblin. Seeing his new friend shaking with fear, Lin Tian tells her not to cry and calls her Yue. The boy steps closer to calm her, holding her face and asking if she wants to stay with him, promising that if she agrees, he'll keep her safe, feed her, give her a warm home, and stop anyone from hurting her. Set on getting tougher, Lin Tian assures Yue he always keeps his word, but they're too weak to fight now, and he pleads for her help to boost his strength. Thrilled at the idea of escaping the cruel little monsters, Yue asks how they can improve. Lin Tian explains that if she's willing to have kids with him, it'll make him stronger, and he'll keep his promise to protect her. Shy and unsure, Yue admits she's never been with a male. Trying to win her over, the boy says if she says yes, she won't have to worry. He'll handle everything. Then something surprising happens. Lin Tian leans in and kisses Yue fast. The protagonist grabs her hands, ready to start an intimate moment, as she's willing to help her friend get stronger. Yue pleads with Lin Tian to let her have his babies as they work on starting a family. The system tells the reborn boy that they'll have 7 kids, and this will raise his level cap. It also says that because of this boost, Lin Tian gains 9 more attack points, 100 extra health, and 10 added defense in his stats. After these upgrades, our MC looks totally different, his body stronger and tougher. Thrilled and flexing his new muscles, the boy checks his power stats and says he's not only leveled up, but also transformed physically, giving them a solid shot at beating the goblin priest. Soon after, Lin Tian ditches the clothes that don't fit his bigger frame anymore. The protagonist comforts his new partner, telling her she's his now and he'll keep her safe like he promised, while Yue gazes at him lovingly and calls him kind. Just then, the couple perks up, hearing the goblins yell for help as they hunt for iron ore. A giant magic wolf charges in, attacking one of the little monsters, who runs off in a panic, clutching something. Lin Tian is amazed to see the goblins actually found iron ore, but he's also concerned since troubles hit them. True to his word to protect his companion, the boy tells Yue to stay put while he races toward the magic wolf. The huge beast is about to gobble up a little monster when Lin Tian dashes in, showing off his speed and power. With his razor-sharp dagger, the boy strikes the wolf's neck, saving the goblin holding the ore. After being rescued, the little monster freezes and looks around in a panic. Then it's clear Lin Tian took down the wolf with a single hit from his strong dagger. Right then, the protagonist soaks up the beast's magical energy. After beating the wolf, Lin Tian praises the goblin for finding the ore, telling the little monster the stuff looks good and ordering them to gather more, saying they'll make weapons when they get back. Once they've collected all the ore they need, the group heads back to the village. When they arrive, the goblins are shocked to see Lin Tian really crafted a useful weapon. Right then, the boy shows off how his creation can take down even wild beasts. Lin Tian hands over a spear made from the forest's iron ore to the leader and the goblins. One of the little monsters, now tougher from the hunt, excitedly tells the tribe he saw the boy kill a magic wolf to save them. Trying to earn the goblins' trust, Lin Tian lifts the spear and asks if they want such a strong weapon, and they all yell that they do. Just then, the tribe's chief shows up, worried about the boy's success. Taking charge, the leader bangs his staff on the ground and tells Lin Tian he didn't lie, giving him credit for making iron weapons. To prove the boy isn't some big hero, the chief says staying in the tribe won't be simple. He has to make 50 more spears in just 2 days. After the chief demands this huge pile of weapons in such a short time, the goblins start grumbling, saying he's worse than humans. To the leader's shock, Lin Tian pulls it off and delivers the 50 spears right on time. The boy tells the chief all the weapons are done as ordered, and while the goblins cheer for his win, the leader, seeming pleased with the nearly impossible task being finished, praises him again. The priest announces that everyone will feast on meat to celebrate Lin Tian joining the tribe, making the little monsters thrilled. Everything is falling into place for the boy's plan, with everyone happy to enjoy plenty of meat. Then Yue hands Lin Tian a chunk of roasted meat, saying it's special for him, a gift straight from the priest. The boy takes it and starts eating the leader's present, but something goes wrong. He begins feeling sick. Worried, Yue asks Lin Tian if he's okay as he chokes on the meat. The tribe's chief comes over fast, scaring the girl. The sneaky leader calls Lin Tian dumb for trusting him, saying he saw the boy's big ambitions and that challenging his rule would only end in death. The chief grabs Yue, holding her tight, and with Lin Tian too weak to fight back, the priest asks if the boy really cares about this female. Seeing Lin Tian's feelings for her, the leader tells him to watch as he slits her throat, calling her a traitor. Set on killing the girl to teach Lin Tian a lesson, the chief says it'll stop the boy from acting so proud around him. It looks like Lin Tian's end is here, facing the priest's sharp claws. But out of nowhere, Lin Tian stands up and slices the chief's arm fast, shocking everyone and saving Yue. The leader, who was so sure of himself, now looks scared, trying to figure out how the poisoned boy managed that. With a mocking tone, the protagonist taunts the old man, calling him foolish. Lin Tian calls the priest sneaky and foolish for falling into his trick, explaining he knew the old man would poison him and was only pretending to go along with it, letting the leader think he'd won. Realizing the boy outsmarted him, the old man gets furious, down an arm but set on finishing Lin Tian off, charging at him. The boy gets ready to fight back, showing off his quick moves, easily dodging the old man's strike and landing another hit on the tribe's chief. It looks like the cruel leader's rule over the goblin tribe is done, and Lin Tian, with his razor-sharp dagger, will be the one to end him. After slipping past the old man's attack, the boy strikes back, slicing off the treacherous leader's head, putting an end to his harsh control. Seeing their chief's head rolled, the little monsters panic, unsure what's coming next. Lin Tian steps toward the scared goblins and says something big. The protagonist tells them he's their new leader from now on, announcing he'll guide them to attack elves and humans. Raising his mighty dagger, Lin Tian promises the little monsters they'll always have meat with him in charge. The goblins get thrilled with their new chief's words and start cheering for him. Then Lin Tian points at the old man's body, offering it to his followers as a victory prize. The little monsters rush in fast, tearing into the dead, deceitful leader's corpse, wild and starving as they eat him up. Set on his path, Lin Tian says taking over the goblin tribe is just the start of his revenge. Next, he'll force the elves to create a tougher generation for his tribe. But something watches them quietly, hiding in the bushes. A stunning elf peeks through the forest, shocked to see everything that's happened. Right then, a striking building shows up in a tree, with goblin bodies dangling as a warning to outsiders. A girl is glad to see her princess back home, but tells her to wait since the matriarch is busy. The young princess insists she has urgent news. Pushing open the door to her mother's room, she says she's got critical info about the Eastern Magical Forest, only to stumble into something surprising. Inside, Kasana finds the queen flirting with a bunch of male elves. The princess feels super awkward catching her mom in this playful mess while trouble creeps closer. Before Kasana can slip out, the queen tells her to hold on and explain what's so pressing that she barged in like that. The princess repeats that she's got big news about the goblin tribe in the forest. Curious but full of herself, the queen asks what could be so important about those weak, filthy little monsters. Kasana tells her mom she found a huge black bear torn apart in the magical forest and doesn't think goblins did it. She also mentions that a few days back, she saw the old goblin tribe leader get taken out by a strange young guy, wondering if it's all connected. The queen only seems to care about the new village leader bit, and with a smug attitude, she orders Kasana to grab some elf soldiers and set up a mission to handle any threat, adding not to wipe them all out at once. While petting a male elf, the flirty, gorgeous elf queen tells Kasana that goblin hearts are super important for making potions that help the male elves in the tribe. The princess, super awkward again because of her mom, says she gets why they need to keep some goblins alive. Then the playful queen says Kasana's been working hard and offers her an elf to enjoy as a reward, or more if she wants. Red-faced from her mom's bold suggestions, the princess hurries out, saying she'll check things out at night and report back if anything goes down. Meanwhile, the goblins plan their attack, using branches to sketch a map, and tell Lin Tian the Forest of 1,000 Wonders has about 30 tree houses. Happy with his top soldiers' work, the new leader promises that when they beat the elves, he'll get 2 elf girls as a prize, making him overjoyed. Pumped by the chief's words, Lin Tian's right-hand man says he'll tell the others to ready their weapons. The new tribe leader starts putting his battle plans into action based on what his right-hand man found out. Lin Tian figures there are 2 elves per house, totaling 70, with 10 working in the mines. To toughen up his tribe, the boy tells the goblins they'll hunt in the magical forest from now on, and they all leap with excitement. This lets Lin Tian boost his stats faster and pick up more skills, while the goblins grow stronger hunting in the magical forest without stopping. Yue and Lin Tian chase down magical creatures together, stacking up new powers and slowly getting tougher. By now, the goblins team up to take down bigger beasts. Together, the tribe boosts their rank, picking up lots of new tricks, raising their overall level to 18 and their total strength to 250. Smartly, Lin Tian thinks it over and figures each elf has around 200 strength, so he says the goblin tribe's power has already passed the elves' total might. Careful since they're heading into enemy land, Lin Tian uses the system to test an attack and check the outcome. After he asks, the goblin life simulation starts up. The boy leads the goblin army, now much tougher, to strike the elves, super sure they'll win. But because Lin Tian gets too cocky, the little monsters stumble into a trap, get caught in a net, and are wiped out. The protagonist gets nabbed by the elf matriarch and strung up in the Forest of 1,000 Wonders as a warning to other goblins. Wrapping it up, the system says Lin Tian thought he had it all handled, but he was really stuck in the enemy's grip. Stunned, the boy can't believe it turned out this way after the simulation's report. Right then, Lin Tian figures out the goblin tribe was watched the whole time, which let the elves set up the ambush. The new leader tells his crew that goblins have sharp ears and noses, urging them to look for hints about the spy. Soon, using his magic power, the boy spots something hidden in the woods and finds the spy behind a tree on a pretty moonlit night. Not knowing she's been found, the princess and her soldiers bolt, planning to warn the matriarch about an attack. Suddenly, glowing arrows zip toward the runaways, and one slams right into the princess's ass. Kasana yells in panic, unable to believe she's caught, then drops to the ground. The beautiful princess gets scared, realizing the arrow's poison has frozen her and her soldiers. The goblins cheer Lin Tian for nailing an elf, but the boy, a bit worried, wonders if the prisoner's body looks off because of the poison. With a smirk, Lin Tian tells the princess he didn't expect it to be so simple to grab them, happy the plan's going smoother than he thought. He says they showed up at the perfect moment, then orders all the elf captives be brought to him at the tribe. Back at the village, a little monster shouts to splash water on the elf, announcing the boss is here. Right then, Kasana looks totally weak and worn out. Lin Tian steps closer to the princess and says it seems goblin body fluids have a weird power, paralyzing and exciting females, which gives them a better shot against the elves who are ruled by women. Angry and weak, Kasana demands to know how such nasty creatures dare to capture her and even think about attacking the elven tribe. She warns Lin Tian that without her mom's kindness, the elves would have already wiped out all the goblins, and if they hurt her, the matriarch won't let it slide. With a smirk and full of confidence, the boy makes fun of the princess, then tosses her to the ground, saying he found it funny she mentioned mercy. Lin Tian tells Kasana the elves she talks about and the ones her soldiers describe sound like 2 different groups, adding that her fighters are dumb but honest. Right then, he says her tribe could have crushed every goblin in the forest, but plenty are still around and he's sure it's not because of mercy. Feeling like he's already won, Lin Tian tells the princess she doesn't need to talk anymore. He's taking the goblin tribe to the elves tonight to find out the truth. The protagonist orders his soldiers to split up the 2 dead prisoners and eat their powers. Then the leader of the little monsters stares at Kasana and says what he plans to do with her, not guessing what's coming next. Kasana panics, pleading for mercy, but she's about to be overpowered by the future goblin god. After messing with the princess, Lin Tian's stats go up, giving him new skills. Back at the elven tribe, the matriarch can't get enough, and her worn-out subjects beg for a break, saying they can't keep pleasing her because the tonic's gone. The cheeky queen grumbles that they should have nabbed more goblins last time they hunted. Right then, her elves look beat from trying to keep up with her wild cravings, and she asks one about Kasana. He says the princess hasn't come back yet, then asks if the tribe's mom wants them to look for her daughter and take out some goblins to boost the warriors' levels. Worried, the matriarch agrees, telling him to grab some soldiers to back Kasana against the little monster tribe. Suddenly, someone bursts in, saying the queen's daughter won't return, leaving her scared and clueless about who's talking. Out of the shadows, Lin Tian steps up, firing arrows at the queen. One hits a soldier square in the forehead, and in a panic, the matriarch snags an arrow before it strikes her. With his trusty crew beside him, Lin Tian tells the queen he's got her daughter, and soon Kasana will have his kids. With a smirk, the boy says they'll be family now. The bold queen isn't ready to give up, grabbing a sword to protect her people. She demands to know what Lin Tian did to her daughter, and he mocks her again. Furious, the matriarch charges at him, vowing to end him. But Lin Tian dodges her wild swing with ease. He tells her the elf tribe's already surrounded, and if she gives up, she might get decent treatment. Then the stunning elven matriarch freezes, hit by the goblin's poison. Lin Tian explains the arrow that got her was dipped in little monster fluid that paralyzes elves, warning her to stay put. Right then, the lustful matriarch realizes she's been caught easily. Lin Tian says he overheard her talk about power-up tools and thrill potions, figuring out that's why the elves wanted goblins. Staring at her future boss's blade, the matriarch thinks she's facing the new little monster leader Kasana warned her about, someone she'd brushed off. Next, the queen gets spooked by cries for help outside her treehouse, and Lin Tian says her time to choose is slipping away. He drags the tribe's mom to the window, showing her he's serious, and tells her it's time to talk about working together. The queen can't believe what's going down outside her room. The elves start yelling, begging the tribe's mom to save them, crying that they don't want the goblins to take them, making the matriarch more and more panicked. Mad, the queen demands to know what Lin Tian did to her village, and the boy tells her the little monsters aren't weaker than the elves anymore. He explains to the matriarch that when her tribe was tough, they'd kill goblins, so it's only fair the little monsters fight back now that they're strong. Lin Tian says he needs more powerful goblin warriors, which is why he still wants the elves, and what happens to them after depends on how the tribe's mom acts. Finally, the bold queen gives up, pleading for mercy, asking for her kids to be spared and allowed to live. The matriarch drops to her knees before Lin Tian, and the stunning queen agrees to stay and let her elf women have babies with the goblins to make them stronger. Now in the little monster's village, Kasana is crushed to see even her mom got caught by the goblins, while the queen says sorry to her daughter for not believing they could lose. Right then, the matriarch tells her that only women and helpless kids are left to keep the elf bloodline going. The queen adds that all the elf women have already been with the goblins, and to calm her daughter, she says they can only survive inside the goblin tribe from now on. Being fair, Lin Tian tells the queen and Kasana he'll look after everyone, giving them 3 meals a day, but if they try anything sneaky, they shouldn't blame him for being harsh and ending them. Thinking of her tribe's safety, the matriarch says she gets the warning. Next, the queen tells Lin Tian she has a favor to ask, saying all the elves are her kids and wondering if she can take care of them. Just then, Moon shows up, struggling to handle all the elf and goblin babies alone. Lin Tian sees the matriarchs acting this way because of the endless mom love elves have. Moon calls out to the tribe leader, saying she can't manage all those kids by herself. So Lin Tian agrees to the matriarch's wish, letting her look after the elf children, knowing those babies will make the tribe way stronger later. Wanting to get tougher, the boy checks his stats with the system, studying the numbers, and wonders if he's already hit the top level since his recent gains turned into power boosts. Right then, Lin Tian figures out he just needs to keep having kids to grow his strength directly. Looking at his tribe and seeing everything's on track, the boy feels sure his current power is enough to finally take down Loader. Gradually, more and more elf babies with goblin-like looks are being born, but the elf women feel grossed out after their kids arrive, begging for someone to take those scary little creatures away. Lin Tian asks Yue how many babies have been born so far, and she says it's around 30 to 40. Then Kasana shows up, looking frantic and in a lot of pain, and Lin Tian gets worried because the princess is pregnant with his child. The boy hurries over to the girl, who's screaming from the pain of giving birth while the queen tries to help her daughter, pleading with her not to give up. Scared for her first grandchild's life, the matriarch begs Lin Tian to help Kasana deliver the baby since it's her first time having one. Wanting to help and concerned for the princess and her child's safety, the boy tells Yue to spread Kasana's legs. Seeing Lin Tian step in to ease her daughter's suffering, the matriarch asks if he really knows how to deliver a baby, and he says he knows enough. But Kasana, doubting he can help, yells that she doesn't want him touching her. Annoyed with the princess, Lin Tian snaps at her to be quiet, saying the kids belong to him. In the end, the boy delivers the baby successfully, letting them know Kasana is okay. After helping with the birth, Yue praises Lin Tian for being amazing and saving Kasana's life, but he brushes it off, saying it wasn't a big deal. Then something grabs the couple's attention. They hear screams from another cage. Lin Tian finds the goblins going wild over an elf woman begging for help because she just gave birth. Right then, something surprising happens. Holding his dagger and joined by the matriarch, Lin Tian rushes to the cage where the goblins are trying to grab the elf by force and orders them to stop. He tells them they have to wait until the women are fully healed, or they'll face trouble. The boy declares that from now on, every elf will get an extra helping of fruit on top of their usual food. Impressed by what Lin Tian does, the matriarch says he's really different from typical goblins, and he replies that the better they act, the better they'll be treated. Once again, Lin Tian decides to use the simulation to see how his revenge plan might play out. After that, the system tells Lin Tian that after a lot of hard work, he took over the elf tribe and got all the elf women pregnant, who then had goblin babies with stronger powers. Seeing more members in the village, the boy decides it's time to get revenge on Loader and his group, so he sneaks into Bright Town alone and tracks them down. After running simulations, the system gives the protagonist 3 choices, each with different points awarded when they're done. Lin Tian wonders if he really found them and remembers his strength is almost equal to Loader's, so he can't take the captain's friends lightly. Thinking his current skills let him beat Loader easily, the boy picks the first simulation option to take on the enemies by himself. The system says Lin Tian finally corners Loader and nearly finishes him, but then the captain's master shows up. Sadly, the human sword saint saves Loader, and the boy gets taken out by the enemy's rescuer, after which the group heads back to the capital and vanishes for good. In short, facing the sword saint left no room to get away, and Lin Tian learns he needs to be more careful from now on. Stunned by what the simulation showed, the boy tries to figure out why such a strong fighter would pop up in a small place like that. Then Lin Tian glances at the matriarch, more certain than ever that he has to speed up and get as strong as possible. Seeing no other choice, the protagonist makes up his mind to act. He tells Yue he's heading to human lands for a few days and she'll be in charge of the tribe, but the queen worries he might get killed. The leader reminds the matriarch that she knows about his fight with the humans, and to his surprise, the elf mom says she can put a stealth spell on him. Pleased, Lin Tian says that's just what he was hoping she'd offer, excited by his allies' sudden help. The boy admits he didn't think she cared about keeping him safe, and she replies, she's only scared that if he dies, the goblins will lose their leader. Thinking of her people's safety, the queen points out all his kids are in the village, and if he comes back alive, everyone will be okay. Yue, standing with the matriarch, promises Lin Tian she'll look after the tribe well while he's gone, as the boy sets off toward his mission.